And we had reported last week on the tent cities that had sprung up in California and reported on some of what was going on there. This week in the Los Angeles Times, Ontario, California, tent city residents required to wear wristbands. Dozens of Ontario police and code enforcement officers descended upon the homeless encampment known as Tent City early Monday, separating those who could stay from those to be evicted. Large, often confused crowds formed ragged lines behind police barricades where officers handed out color-coded wristbands. Blue meant they were from Ontario and could remain. Orange indicated they had to provide more proof to avoid ejection, and white meant they had a week to leave. Many who had taken shelter at the camp, which had grown from 20 to more than 400 residents in 9 months, lacked paperwork, bills, or birth certificates proving they were once Ontario residents. "When my husband gets out of jail, he can bring my marriage certificate. Will that count?" asked one tearful woman. Another resident, clearly confused, seemed relieved to get a white band, not understanding it meant she had to leave. Patty Barnes, 47, who had her motorhome towed away last week, shook with anger. "They are tagging us because we are homeless," she said, staring at her orange wristband. "It feels like a concentration camp." This is being reported in the Los Angeles Times, March 30th, 2009. So we had Bob Chapman scheduled to be on at 9:15. If you're listening, Mr. Chapman, if you'd like to go ahead and call back in, I think we had just a little bit of a mistake there. If not, we can do it at 10:15. But if you're listening, you'd like to call back in, we'd like to go ahead and do the interview this hour. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it to you, Brian, start with some of the news of the week, and we'll just hang on and see what happens.
This is something that Farron actually first brought up to me. I didn't know anything about the Google Street View. This is from the UK Daily Mail. Angry residents form human chain to stop Google Street View car from filming their village. Google may have stated its intention to photograph the great majority of British roads for its controversial Street View mapping website, but when the internet firm's car arrived to capture the historic village of Broughton on camera, it was the locals who snapped. Fearing the images could be used by burglars to scout for suitable homes to raid, villagers formed a human barrier in the road to stop the Street View car in its tracks. And they emerged victorious after forcing the vehicle to turn around and leave the village. Resident Paul Jacobs told how the impromptu protest unfolded on Wednesday when he spotted the car, which was unmarked, but featured the telltale 360-degree rotating camera fixed on the roof. Cruising slowly down his lane, he dashed outside, confronted the driver, and told him he was not allowed to continue before alerting police. Mr. Jacobs, 43, then knocked on his neighbor's doors, and a crowd of angry residents surrounded the black Opel Astra, forcing it to make a U-turn and quickly leave. Mr. Jacobs, who works for a global entertainment company, described Street View as burglars' dream.
Yeah, the Street View, I actually went, how it began, it was told to me by someone, and I didn't believe it. In fact, that's a long story, but I went right down the road to Jim's house. This is where I started looking at it. Turned and looked right down his driveway, and it makes me wonder, how did they do this? Look at what it must have costed. You can go and look at anyone's house, turn and look right down their driveway. It had to be a massive project to get this underway. But yeah, Google Earth Street View is just Big Brother at its best, is it not?
I never even thought of that angle, and of course that's a great point. Burglars can utilize this tool easily and say, well, I can look at all this guy's windows and doors and find the best route in and out.
And I had heard that
it's from Tractor Trailers. You can see the silhouette of a truck when you did one in front of my house.
Oh, Jim's saying it's filmed by a tractor trailer. Now, I've been told, and you might know on this, Jim, I've been told law enforcement has this Google Earth in real time. They can actually...
Right. Yeah, if you look at, just a satellite view of maps on Google and everything, it's it's certainly delayed even by up to a year or so.
So yeah, if you'd like to check into that, go to Google Earth Street View and check out your house. Now my address was actually off a little bit, and I couldn't find your house, so it's not, everything's not there.
Well, the area that my house is in too is kind of a newer area, which will probably eventually be on there. But you look at older, more established neighborhoods, and about every one of them's on there.
Well, I've got something that I wanted to report on, and I think we've got some phone callers that's wanting to discuss this. But I want to go into something just a little bit different today, that a little departure from our normal. Oh, right. Okay. We was having a little technical difficulties. Apologize. We're apparently back on the air, and I would like to make a couple comments on Easter, since we are nearing the holiday of Easter. You can ride the countryside at this holiday season and discover the churches will let you know which ones have drifted so far away from standing for the Bible and have totally given over to the world. That would be the churches that are so secular and are so lost that they advertise Easter egg hunts at the church. Easter originated prior to Jesus Christ's crucifixion. Like most of our holidays, it has moved from a pagan holiday right into the church. Easter is based on the goddess Ishtar. In the Babylonian Talmud, it was spelled Ishtar. To the Greeks, it was Diana. It's Semiramis to the Babylonians. The gods stay the same, only the names change. This is how this originated since the Tower of Babel. Ultimately, it is Semiramis worship, the spring goddess, a fertility goddess. Her statue depicts her as a many-breasted goddess. Her legend varies, but this much we know. The egg was celebrated as a symbol of fertility. The rabbit was introduced because it's the fastest procreating mammal. So the whole symbolism has absolutely nothing to do with Christ or his crucifixion. So now let's mention this also. Easter varies each year as to the date. It can be from mid-March to mid-April. The reason for this is the pagans put Easter holiday on the calendar according to astrology. Easter to this day is placed on the calendar as the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. So for the churches, most don't seem to have a clue as to the true history of this pagan ritual that they bring into their churches with this holiday. This is why, in my opinion, so many of the churches are so completely dead. Having an Easter egg hunt on the church lawn is an abomination as having a donut hunt for Dagon or a moon pie hunt for Moloch. And the church continues on continually unaware of what they are actually doing. So I know this is a little bit of a departure here. I wanted to do this last year. I wanted to explain a little bit of the history of Easter and ask the churches, what are they involved in? Why do they do this? Do they know the actual history of this? And I just wanted to comment on that a little bit. And Todd, were you saying we had a phone call that wanted to comment on that?
We did earlier, but now no.
Okay. All right. Well, we are having just a little bit of technical difficulties here. Our guest, I believe, is going to be on next hour, so we are we're just a little bit disorganized at the moment, but we are trying to regroup. We may be under attack from the New World Order. All right, Brian, go ahead and take it away with some news.
We got scale on it.
We're coming up on a break. We will be back here in just about 4 minutes. All right. We are back here on the Real News Radio, and again, our website's realnewsradio.com. We are proud to be part of the Liberty News Radio Network, libertynewsradio.com. If you'd like to check out the website, great source for news and information. So apparently Mr. Chapman will be joining us in the second hour, so we're going to go ahead and continue with the news. So go ahead, Brian, and get us started.